Natalie Pascarella.
And I'm Stephen Holt, joining you at 6. Chuck is off tonight. So many people have come together to remember George Floyd today and to fight against racial injustice. And you can see just from this picture here, live look from Chopper 4, huge crowds. This is a gathering right now at Union Square. Part of this group crossed the Brooklyn Bridge from Cadman Plaza earlier today.
All of these marches come after a private ceremony held in Minneapolis where thousands gathered at Cadman Plaza in Brooklyn, as we mentioned, for memorial there as well. A moment of silence was held for 8 minutes and 46 seconds across the country. That's the amount of time a police officer held a knee on Floyd's neck, leading to his death. News 4's John Chandler marched with the protesters as they crossed the Brooklyn Bridge from Cadman Plaza.
That's right, John. And the first time we saw you, you were in Brooklyn. Now we see you in Soho. Now give us a sense of the mood, the atmosphere, and what you're experiencing.
Well, Stephen and Natalie, you can hear chants of as this session has picked up momentum and certainly picked up volume as it crossed from the Brooklyn Bridge over into Manhattan. In fact, as we come down Houston here, a few tense moments with protesters and police marching in unison side by side, but the protesters trying to get their attention. This all started earlier with Terrence Floyd, George's brother, with an emotional plea to protesters in the plaza in Cadman in Brooklyn. "You are not alone," a crowd of thousands chanted as Terrence Floyd fell silent, overwhelmed by the moment the death of his brother George Floyd has sparked.
My brother's gone, but the Floyd name still lives on.
Terrence lives in Brooklyn. He's watched memorials and protesting from all over the world in his brother's memory.
I hear it all going on all over the world, but I feel so good knowing that my borough, I thank God for y'all.
Mayor de Blasio joined Terrence Floyd to a chilly reception. Many in the crowd angry over another night of peaceful protesting, receiving rough treatment from the NYPD. Earlier, the mayor warned to respect the 8 p.m. curfew.
There's a curfew for a reason, the right thing to do, and I, again, have participated in plenty of protests. If there's a curfew, what people should do is protest during the day, go home at the curfew.
From Cadman Plaza, crowds walked the Brooklyn Bridge, marching peacefully behind Terrence Floyd. Many protesters plan to continue through the night, and Terrence Floyd has a message for them.
I'm proud of the protests, but I'm not proud of the destruction. My brother wasn't about that.
Now, this protest was supposed to end in Foley Square. As you see, we have long since passed that. I asked a couple of protesters where they're headed. They said they don't know, but they're going to keep marching. We're live approaching Bleecker Street here in the Soho section. I'm John Chandler, News 4 New York.
All right, John, thank you. And from Soho now to Minneapolis, where thousands gathered inside and outside of the Trask Word and Worship Center to pay their respects to Floyd. Family and friends of George Floyd remembered his life and how his death is sparking such a movement. The most stirring moment, though, the 8 minutes and 46 seconds that everyone stood in silence to mark the length of time that George Floyd was on the ground under a Minneapolis police officer's knee. Reverend Al Sharpton delivered the powerful eulogy.
Happened to Floyd happens every day in this country, in education, in health services, and in every area of American life. It's time for us to stand up in George's name and say, get your knee off our necks.
2 more public viewings are planned in North Carolina and in Houston. Floyd will be laid to rest in Texas next Tuesday.
From the Twin Cities to Brooklyn, thousands of people peacefully gathered throughout the day at Grand Army Plaza to honor Floyd, also to demonstrate against racism and police brutality. Some breaking news. We understand police have arrested a man who they say is caught on camera in this terrifying attack in Queens on protesters there. Here's a video. That's 54-year-old Frank Cavalluzzi of Queens, who has turned himself into police. Cops say he's seen on this video brandishing several knives, running after the demonstrators, many of them teenagers. Video also shows him driving his car down the sidewalk of the Cross Island Parkway overpass. No one was seriously hurt at that incident.
Lootings are down significantly after the earlier curfew went into effect, but the clashes with police still continue even after the 8 p.m. curfew. The city's public advocate is now blasting the NYPD for this video right here, appearing to show officers striking curfew violators with batons. News 4's Chris Glorioso has the fallout.
Oh my God.
Wednesday night, video retweeted by Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez shows officers beating a bicyclist with batons. It's not clear what happened before the video starts, but AOC called it horrifying. Public advocate Jumaane Williams said the NYPD might as well be following the president's lead.
We can't have the mayor and the governor taking a playbook from Donald Trump on how to respond to these protests. The fact that you are Democrats means nothing at all.
When asked about videos of cops swinging batons and tackling people for violating the curfew, Governor Cuomo came to the NYPD's defense.
That is a hyper-partisan rhetorical attack. Police bludgeon peaceful protesters with batons for no reason. That's not a fact. They don't do that.
John Jay College adjunct professor Brian Higgins is an expert on crowd control. He said the 8 p.m. curfew is a reasonable tool to thin out the crowds.
Don't let them kill me!
So police can protect against crime that's unrelated to the protest.
And the reason for the curfew, it's not to dampen the civil protest, it's to eliminate the rioting and the looting and the physical assaults that are occurring.
The union representing city police officers criticized political leaders for highlighting these videos of rough arrests, but downplaying video of a cop being hit with a brick and another being hit with a fire extinguisher. The PBA tweeting, "Last night, 3 of our officers were almost killed. 1 officer was stabbed in the neck and 2 others shot." The silence from political leaders is deafening.
I am not property!
Reporting from Manhattan, Chris Glorioso, News 4, New York.
Now, after initially defending the NYPD regarding that video that showed a biker being hit with police batons, this afternoon, Governor Cuomo asked for the Attorney General to investigate this incident, tweeting, "No peaceful protesters deserve to be hit with a baton, and no self-respecting police officer would defend that."
We have all watched these protests. We have all heard the calls for justice. But what is it actually going to take to bring about real change in this country? Tonight, the debrief with David Ushery delves into that issue of race and policing here in our area and across the United States. It's going to be a frank and uncensored and unedited look at what's coming next and what is still needed. This special edition of The Debrief is live at 7 o'clock on NBCNewYork.com, on Facebook, and on YouTube. And you can also listen tomorrow on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify.